I'll do. Thank you for tuning in again. Welcome to part two of my two-part video on my latest track that I've been working on. So just as a recap for part one, I showed you the 16 bar loop that I'd created, core elements of the track, the sounds that I used, and the processing on those sounds. By the end of the video, I was ready for the put together the arrangement for the track and then the final mix down. So in between that video and this video, I've done that final arrangement and mix down. So now for this video, I'll take you through that arrangement, any further sounds that I've used in the track, and then also the final mix down and how it sounds. So let's get that track loaded up and I'll show you what I've done. So here we go. Here's the track, all arranged, all mixed, ready to be mastered. So yeah, I'll just take you through any additions. You can see we've got a few additions in the melodic element. We've inserted our impact hits, risers, transition effects, fill effects, included a snare build to build up to the drops. So yeah, let's start with the low end. So actually, when it came to the mix down, or as I was arranging it and putting the mix together, I ended up swapping out Ableton stock EQs and compressors, and going with solid state Logic Oxford plugins for the EQ and compressors. I just thought I'd try them out as the first track that I've actually used these on. So I thought I'd give them a test run and see how they work. So so yeah, low end. So we just take this part. So not much has changed from the original 16 bar loop. We have boosted the punchiness of the kick on the drum bus return track, but I've also included a saturator in there as well, just to again give it a bit more bite, a bit more punch. Subtractive EQ, taking out the low end. I've cut the low end a bit more, so in the original 16 bar loop, the low end was cut at 30 hertz, sorry, but I've just increased that to 50 hertz, just so the sub can come through a bit more as well, and there's still a bit the kick still sort of piercing through all the elements. Again, just cut off the high end, or the highs at 10 kilohertz. Then a bit of compression on there, again just to fatten the sound a bit, bring down those dynamic, or the transient, sorry, and then just boosted the mid range a bit. So again, pretty similar to how it was in the original 16 bar loop. Then for the bass, again, saturator on there, EQ, We have put in an ozone imager this time, so that's something that was different from the original 16 bar loop. So again, it just stands out in the low end a bit more. So it is a stereo sample, so or stereo bass line, so it does work with that, and we've cut it so that none of the bits in mono, so the mono fields, so anything below 130 hertz is cut out there. So again, if we just play it, just makes it a little bit wider. Again, not much additional bits to the mixing stage. The sub, I actually swapped out the sub sound in the end, and went, this is kind of my go-to sub bass, as it is hip hop sub bass. So I used it all the time in any of the hip hop tracks that I've made. Pretty much always use this unless I'm using an 808, but primarily sub bass. So I thought I'd actually, test it out on see how it works with this track. Sorry, and again it fits in quite well. Again, we've got a saturator. There's no, I haven't used the saturation on there. I'm just using the gain functionality on there just to bring the gain down on the track for the mix as part of the gain staging, and then the EQ again is changed slightly, so we don't have that cut that we had before. All I've done is cut it at 30 hertz, and then a high end cut at just over 100 hertz, so it's just purely low end. You can't hear it too well, but it is there. Moving on, the claps, not much changed with those. As you can see, we've got some automation on the echo, so the secondary clap comes in the breakdowns, just to give those breakdowns a bit of variation from the rest of the track. So it sounds a bit like this. Versus the normal track, which sounds, so just accentuating that echo part a lot more. So that's the only addition. Again, saturation on there just to make the clap a bit crisper, a bit sharper. So again, you can hear it in the mix a lot more. And then just simple EQ, just cutting out the low, so I haven't boosted anything. I took out the EQ boost in the mid-range, and I've just left it purely cutting out the low end and cutting off the high end at 10 kilohertz. Moving on, open hi-hat, again nothing changed much from there. Again, we've got the saturator on, but I've used the gain volume control on there. I haven't actually used the drive in any way. Again, I've just used the gain knob to set my levels for the open hat. EQ, again, no additional, nothing changed from the first track, only the EQ plugin itself. So cutting the lows a lot, around 1 kilohertz, and then cut off the high end at 10 kilohertz, and then just again, as we did in the 16 bar loop, just a couple of peaks just to boost that mid to high end. Closed hats, bit more added to this one. So we've still got the core velocity driven hi-hats, side chained as well to give it that groove, but we've also included the ozone imager in there again to make the hats a bit wider, and we've panned it harder to the left now. So again, the closed hi-hat is panned hard to the left, with the shaker panned hard to the right. So again, just creating space and doesn't muddy up the mix too much on there. Clav, we actually ended up doing quite a lot of processing on, additional processing. So a little bit of saturation in there as well, because it's mimicking the bass line. I just wanted it to be a bit more present in the mix, so you can differentiate and you can hear it over the top of the bass line as well. So decided to add a saturator on there just to give it a bit more drive. Similar EQ though as before, compressor on there, and then we've only gone with the one peak additional EQ. Again, ozone imager, you'll see that a lot in this mixdown. That the idea is to make the track as wide and as spacious as possible. It is a melodic techno track. It's a very ethereal sounding track. So, you know, wide open spaces, it comes hand in hand with this style. So use the ozone imager a lot, probably overused it, but it works for the track. Ride cymbal, so changed out the actual ride sound in the end and went with a different ride cymbal. Sounds a lot better. And again, a little bit of saturation on there, not a lot, but just a little bit, just to again give it a bit more drive than the open hi-hat. You want to be able to distinguish the two, because again it's panned fairly hard to the left with the open hi-hat, panned to the right. So you want to be able to differentiate between the two when the two are playing at the same time, but also, you know, and again is creating that space on there. Old favourite again, ozone imager on to give it some space, and then just an EQ, so a hard or low cut just below 1 kilohertz, and then another one just to boost the high end a little bit. And again, as I said from the first video, we're boosting at the fundamental frequency, so the frequency that emits, that's the key of the track. So the key of the track's F minor, so this is being boosted on the frequency that corresponds to the key of F, so, or the note, sorry, the note of F. Shaker, again, as I explained, we've got the closed hi-hats panned to the left, so we've panned the shaker to the right. No saturation on there, again just using the gain function on there for the bit gain staging. Really heavily EQ'd, so you know, almost no mid or low frequencies getting through that shaker, and again just boosting it. Ozone imager, of course, and that's it on there. So yeah, the snare build. So again, only used twice in the breakdown. Each of the breakdowns. There's 2 breakdowns in the track, and this one again. If I play it for you. So you've got utility on there. So utility, bringing the volume up gradually, but also again we've got the standard EQ and saturation on there, but I've inserted this handy little plugin called Pancake, so it's panning it left to right, again giving that swirling effect. Of course, ozone imager on there as well, and as we move to the melodic parts, ARP hasn't changed, exactly the same processing as before, but with the ARP, the lead pad, and the main lead, when it comes to the breakdown part, if I just I discovered this great plugin, a shout out to a producer called Bassclef, who has got this free plugin, and if you haven't got it and you want to really make the most of your build-ups in your breakdowns ready for the drop, then this is a great plugin. It's called Washout. I think I mentioned it actually in the first video, but we've got that set up on the ARP, the lead pad and the lead breakdown. Sorry, the main lead for the breakdown. So again, just gives that whooshing effect at the end, and builds it up ready for the drop. Apologies for the sound cutting out there. My CPU is overloaded, my laptop's overloaded, so should probably invest in a new one. But yeah, so in terms of the pad, again, no real changes to the pad. Rather than auto panning, I've used this Pancake plugin to move the sound left to right around, but apart from that, everything has stayed the same from the original. The lead breakdown, so again, this has changed slightly. So the mix out section, or where it sort of it drops a bit in energy level, is where we bring in the lead pad, and we've just got the 2 chords playing, and then it sort of builds up from there. So then we've got 4 chords playing, and then it goes into the main breakdown of the track, where it goes back to the 4 chords, but we've elongated the note length on there. What I've done with the lead pad as well, we've got some automation on the LFO rate. So the idea is we've got that stutter effect coming in, but it starts off quite mild, and then it just builds up and builds up as the breakdown builds up to its peak. So to give you an idea. But then if we move it further on to here, so as you can see, it's just getting harsher and harsher with the stutter effect. So again, it's building that energy up to the peak of the breakdown. again, we've just put a gain utility plugin on there and just increased the gain by 1 decibel, just to make the lead, this lead pad and the main lead stand out a bit more in the breakdown, because there's still a little bit going on in the background as well with the pads and this noise, which I'll come on to in a minute. Called it noise, but I don't think that's actually the technical term for it. And the whole while the ARP's building up as well, so we've got the steady build for it as well. So yeah, again, there we go for the main lead, just boosting it to 2 dB, so it sits a little bit higher above the lead pad as well. So yeah, the main addition for the melodic part is this noise and FX loop. So if I play it in context with the rest of the track. So yeah, we insert this noise and effects loop just to fill the space from when the breakdown kicks in. I didn't want it to immediately go into the sort of the main breakdown elements. I wanted there to be that sort of natural pause. So bringing in the noise and the FX loops again just sort of builds it up to when the lead pad and lead breakdown are introduced. So they only appear in the breakdown, and then we've got the noise comes in towards the end as well. So nice additions, and again they just sit quite low in the mix. Obviously, sorry, GI. When it's the only sound playing, then you know it does dominate. But actually, when it comes to these guys, you can hear it just sort of sat in the background there. And then what we've done is actually side chained it to the kicks. Sorry, the clap. So when the clap comes in, it ducks there, so that the clap, the percussive element, can push through a bit more. So that's the sort of the main additions, melody wise, or melody and percussion low end wise. Obviously then I've added in, as I've arranged the track, little transition effects and impacts here and there. So I try and do it sort of every 8 bars to introduce a new phase of the track. So we've got the white noise riser here. So as I say, try and do it every 8 bars. We've also got some transition effects. This one's really slow, so I need to zoom in a lot for this. So see here, simple, really short, but works in the context of the track. So just introduces another the next section of the track. But we sort of try to keep it varied as well, so I don't like to use the same one impact hit throughout the track, or the same transition effect through the track. Obviously if it works as it does with this transition, I've used it a lot throughout the track, then you know I will do, but I like to try and vary it, have at least 2 different variations of risers, impacts, transitions. So and we've still got two different transitions. So we've just got this introducing at the very beginning. So just it keeps the listener interested by changing it. It's just small changes like that as well that, you know, it would just sound repetitive if it was just the same thing every 8 bars. So you know, by varying it, it just keeps the listener interested. And then finally we have this fill effect as part of the drop. So if I play it all in context, so it's just a nice little change up from just going straight into the track, straight into the drop. Almost catches the listener by surprise. They're expecting the track to hit that main drop, but then, you know, you've got that little fill that comes in, just catches them off guard, but just makes the drop a little bit more impactful when it does hit, because they're not expecting it. They're expecting it to, you know, hit 1 bar earlier than it actually does. So just keeps the listener guessing, keeps them interested as well. They're not expecting it. So yeah, in terms that's all the additions to, I think we ended up with 35 tracks in the end. I ended up taking out the white noise hat that was in there originally. I felt like the shaker and the closed hat were doing more than enough to sort of carry that percussive element, so I took that out. And yeah, that's it. In terms of arrangement, you know, as you can see, we've got all these lines here, just to, as a guideline. So you see, I didn't use a reference track in the end to mix it. I thought I'd try just using my own ear to hear what sounds good, and try and work it from there. But in terms of arrangement, I've still got these guidelines here for me. You know, I don't rigidly follow those guidelines. You can see for the first half of the track, I do up until the end of section B, and then usually there'd be a second mix out where it wouldn't be as stripped back as it is. There'd still be, you know, some, maybe a kick still playing, but actually what I've done is made a longer breakdown. So actually, rather than having a second mix out, I've just gone straight into the break. So we've got a longer longer breakdown, more of a build up to that third section. But I'd say I'm terrible when it comes to arrangement. Having produced hip hop beats to start off with, you know, that's how I got into production, as making hip hop beats, sampling, chopping up samples, and so on. It's a lot easier to arrange a hip hop beat. You know, it is very much probably maximum 10 tracks, or 10 elements, and you know, you just take bits out, or you know, you might just be doing a beat that's 2.5 minutes long, and you could just have everything playing all the way through. So to then transfer, when I started to get back into house music and techno music and started producing this again, yeah, it's proved a steep learning curve for me, and I'm, you know, I still think my arrangements, every time I listen to them, you know, every time I listen back to the track, I always think there's something else I can change in there, and so with this track, it just got to a point where I managed to listen to it all the way through, and there were things that I wanted to change, but I thought, no, enough's enough. It's taken me probably a week to arrange and mix this properly so that it's ready to master. Um, to have these guidelines here, whilst I don't rigidly stick to them, it certainly helps the arrangement side of things. But again, I'm still learning, and no two arrangements are exactly the same. My arrangements on all my tracks so far will differ from each other, because again, you want to vary your music. I don't want to just rigidly stick to the same thing, the same formula, time and time again. So in this case, the longer breakdown worked for the track. It is melodic, so we can introduce that melodic element over a longer period of time on this track. So yeah, that's in terms of arrangement. Just on the last part of it, so when it came to doing a final mix down, as well as having the plugins, adjusting the levels, so everything sounds cohesive. I do cheat a little bit, and I use isotope neutron, just to really clear the mix up once and for all. So they've got this handy function called Track Assistant, and then you can choose what style you want, the intensity, and then it will run its algorithm and adjust the levels and add in their own plugins to really get that mix really tight. So if I play it, so that's with it, and then if I play it without it, so it just sounds a bit duller if I hadn't used neutron on there. And I know it's cheating, but I'm not a professional mix engineer. I am self-taught. It's taken me a long time, and I'm still not perfect. So any way I can, help myself and make my track sound better, then I'm going to take it. I'd love to learn the ins and outs of mix engineering and mastering engineering, and I'm still researching and reading up on it and learning, but at the present time, it just puts the icing on the cake for the track. So yeah, that's the mix down and arrangement of my track. The track title's Running. I don't know why it's called Running. I think I just get the sense with especially with the shakers and the closed hi-hats, it sounds a galloping effect, so perhaps it comes from that. But if you want to listen to the full track, then please do keep an eye out on my social media accounts on Instagram, on this YouTube channel, on Facebook, Twitter. It will be released on all major music platforms over the coming days or weeks. But I'm not going to play you a full the full track now. If you do want to listen to the full track, you will have to source it from one of the major music platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever it is you get your online streaming from. The track's going to be available on there. I can, however, confirm that it is a good track. You can see Maya dancing away to it there. So yeah, it's got her seal of approval, so we're good to go with it. Thank you very much for joining me for the second episode. The next video I'm going to do is actually going to be something a bit different. As I spoke about, I've come from producing hip hop. That's how I started out in music production. So a good friend of mine, a rapper by the name of Emotive Concept, check out his stuff on Spotify as well, and all music platforms. I'll leave a link in the description below to his tracks and his social pages. But he's asked me to do a beat for his latest album, so I'm gonna record myself start to finish. I'm thinking an old 90s upbeat, happy boom bap rap beat that I'll hip hop beat. Sorry, rap. That sounds old, doesn't it? Hip hop beat that I'm gonna make. So I'm gonna record myself start to finish. Selecting, listening to my records, going through my records, finding a sample that I can chop up, finding a drum break, and then getting it into Ableton, chopping it up, and making the beat from there. So going back to my hip hop roots, and something a little different. So stay tuned for that. Plenty of videos coming up as well. Might be a little video in between this one and the hip hop one, just showing you how I make my kicks punchy, with the use of the return channel. So that'll just be a short little tip video for you, but that'll be coming in the next few days. But by all means, please like and subscribe, and come and join me on this wonderful journey. But until next time, peace.